Well, art has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons, but there's a group of women who are using art to make a difference. The Amazwi Abesifazana, or Voices, I've just botched that up completely, of Women project, aims to give marginalized women a voice. Let's take a look at the story.
Storytelling and the art of embroidery, not just to pass time, but used to connect with government on some of the challenges faced by women in South Africa. Amazwi Abesifazana was initiated in 2007. It encourages dialogue and gives women a chance to influence Parliament and its policies. Participants use their artwork to show some of the progress made in addressing difficulties faced by communities.
There is development, electricity, water, roads, even adult basic education is there. So that is change.
And it's also a skill that can be used to create an income.
Skill they can use in other areas, skill they can use to help themselves, skill they can use to do it and get some money to buy bread for their kids.
Participants were selected by different municipalities to take part in week-long workshops.
It's not reached government yet, but this is the next step. So after launching the final report, it's going to be presented to all the different government departments that's been identified in the stories where the women and the communities need support.
An exhibition of the works will be held from June 1st at Constitution Hill. Famida Miller, E-News, Johannesburg.
All right, so we've got a new report which shows that some basic human rights are still not a reality for some communities. The report was compiled by Amazwi Abesifazana, and the aim is to give marginalized and rural women the opportunity to voice their opinions in areas like service delivery. Let's find out more. I'm joined by Zubaydah Sheikh. She's the manager of the Parliamentary Millennium Programme. Zubaydah, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Basically, your studies and your research in this regard started around 5 years ago, and you've covered most of the communities in the 9 provinces. What does democracy mean typically to a rural woman, based on your research? Good morning and welcome, by the way.
Yes, morning, Iman. Thank you very much. I think one of the most phenomenal things that we discovered was that there were 2 themes we were working with the Amazwi Abesifazana campaign. The one theme was A Day in My Life I'll Never Forget, and then of course the second one was What Does Democracy Mean to Me? And a lot of painful stories came out with A Day in My Life I'll Never Forget. And I think that really spoke to what started off this whole project. And it was a follow-on of the TRC, and just recognizing that there's a lot of women in particular who haven't began a process of healing. So that's where it started, and then it moved on to what democracy means to me. And in the democracy stories, it was very varied. So it depended on the different areas that the woman came from.
Give me just an example. For example, what was a powerful story of a woman about a day that really changed her life forever?
Okay. In a day I would never forget, a lot of the stories contained pain. It was about physical abuse, it was about domestic violence, it was about losing sons and daughters, sons in particular, especially the KwaZulu-Natal area. The woman reflected a lot on the post-apartheid era, and then just the violence coming into democracy as well.
We can see some of the women working on those portraits that made part of the exhibition. So there was a bit of a tapestry, a story attached, and then you had a bit of a biography on each of those women. Right. I suppose, Zubaydah, when people look at studies like these, they want to know what meaning, what value does it give to those communities that you have profiled? How does this 5-year-long research benefit the women now in those communities? How will it advance their cause?
Okay, we worked with provincial and local government structures, and with local government being at the coalface of service delivery, what helped was they could interact directly with these women and understand the challenges that they confront in their communities. So a lot of support systems have been put in place, and a lot of the women that we see, even with the launch yesterday, were very excited about what they've pursued beyond the workshops that we've had. The other thing with this project is that it's there to strengthen the oversight capacity of members of Parliament. So members exercise oversight over government and service delivery. And in this way, the public participation reaches the people right on the ground.
Yeah, because I mean, you want to think, like some of these stories you're talking about, where women have been victims of domestic violence, or they've had, they've been financially, kind of slaves to their husbands. How do they connect now with some of the services, some of the relief systems that are available to them in communities like, in rural communities where often there's hardly any access?
The one great thing about the program as well that we found over the last couple of years is that these women have an opportunity to just build a social network. Okay. And just the social network extends outside of their homes, outside of their immediate family, and outside of their community. Many of them, especially in rural areas, haven't even been beyond that. So just being able to connect with a person in another part of the country who's going to give you some support and encouragement has really made a difference. Okay, so this is going, it was presented yesterday, it was launched at the Women's Jail. This goes, I assume, beyond just this process now. It's going to hopefully inform policy on some levels. That's right. Who sits with the responsibility now of making sure that they give oxygen and life to what you found out? Well, with the final report launched now, there's 3 different reports for 3 provinces each. It gets presented to the different portfolio committees that are identified in the report, and it puts in place a mechanism for these committees to monitor progress with government departments. So there are recommendations for each of the submissions. This will be presented to the departments via the committees, and then we just have to monitor progress from there.
And knowing you by reputation, I'm sure that you're going to be a bit of a bulldog, hopefully, in making sure that what you found out becomes a reality for these women.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I just have pushed all the way through with this, and this is the beginning now. It's not the end. It's the beginning of a whole new process.
Wonderful. Thanks, Zubaida. Appreciate your time this morning. Zubaida Sheikh, who is from the Parliamentary Millennium Programme.